Hey guys, I'm Rob Cairns. I'm the founder, CEO, and chief creator of Amazing Ideas at Stunning Digital Marketing. Today's podcast, I'm talking with my friend Bob Rodkin. Bob is done many things in his life, but recently drove Uber and Uber Eats, and I thought we'd talk about that during the pandemic. It made for a really great conversation. Just a quick show note about the 5 minute point. There's a little bit of rough editing I had to do to get a conversation out of there that happened in the middle of our recording of the podcast. I'm really sorry about the rough editing, but if just bear with it for a few seconds and then we go back to recording. So sit down, relax, and enjoy the conversation I had with Bob. I'm here with my friend Bob Rodkin this morning, and I thought we'd talk about Bob's life as an Uber and an Uber Eats driver during this pandemic. How are you doing today, Bob?
I'm doing good, thanks.
Thanks for coming on. So let's share a little background. You've been driving Uber, I don't know, probably for 4 or 5 years off and on.
Yep.
You also do some private limo driving. And you had all kinds of concerns with Uber Eats. And for those who don't know, that's the food service delivery during the pandemic. Do you want to share some of those for me?
Well, I didn't, when it first came out, I didn't drive Uber Eats at all, and I refused to drive it because I preferred driving people, for one. But the other thing was that I was driving primarily in downtown Toronto. So, and I still won't do Uber Eats downtown Toronto because there's nowhere to park, either when you're picking up the food or when you're dropping it off. But when you're dropping it off, it's worse because if people want you to bring their food up to the 20th floor of a condo and you've got to park in a fire route, it's you could end up getting, one ticket would take care of half a day's Uber deliveries. So that was an issue. And when I relocated out to the Oshawa area, I found Uber Eats worked actually better than the Uber X that I was driving, because I made around the same amount of money, but it kept me within this, a few square kilometer geographic area. So I use a lot less gas and many fewer kilometers on my car. So, but that was pretty much it. So now I'm sort of probably about 80% Uber Eats and about 20% people. And that's just a preference that I, every once in a while I like to chat with people. So I drive them. So.
Yeah. And the reality is, where you are outside of Toronto and Oshawa, a lot of your traffic is actually the college, Durham College. And, over the years, I've watched you on Facebook and you'll post things like somebody ordered a coffee to be delivered, which I just find absolutely absurd, because the delivery charge has to be more than the price of the coffee, right?
Oh yeah, it is absurd, and it's and it doesn't matter to the driver whether you're Uber Eats or Skip the Dishes or whoever, whether the person orders a coffee or whether they order 5 full course meals. Your delivery earnings are the same. So, I mean, in that sense, it was great. You want to order a coffee that I can just literally that I've walked across the street with before. I haven't even gotten in my car, and that happens fairly regularly. Pretty much on average about once a day, where I pick up at a restaurant near the college and I can just walk it over to a residence because it's right there.
Yeah.
Nowadays, of course, that's acceptable because with the coronavirus going on, people aren't supposed to leave their house. So, but it's good and bad for the drivers, because probably about 35% of my income from Uber Eats was through tips.
Yeah.
So when you get places like Tim Hortons, say, offering free delivery, well, now the guy across the street is going to order his coffee from Tim Hortons, and he's not going to walk over to get it, because he shouldn't. He should stay home. and it'll be delivered for free. So it's not costing him any more money. So the Uber Eats driver will probably, if he's lucky, he'll make maybe $3 on that delivery. But the guy that ordered it, he just wants free delivery. So he's not going to tip because he wants it free. So you've gone, in one case, one of my last ones was I had to drive for 11 minutes to get to a Tim Hortons and I had to wait about the same amount of time in the drive-through. And then I had a 30-second drive to deliver it to the guy. And I made $2.58.
Yeah, that's awful. And I know Jill and I, as you know, we don't have a car in our household. Neither one of us drive. So our Uber deliveries, and there's still regular Uber drivers out there, are typically, it's the once a week run from the grocery store because we're all supposed to stay home, right? Or the pet store, because pet stores in Ontario are still doing curbside pickup. And what I'll tell you is I go out of my way to tip my drivers even more now because I think they're part of this group of people, what I call frontline workers, that are keeping the drive Uber and from the grocery store. And I've gone out of my way to tip drivers and even more like I normally do. And I think a lot of drivers, I was talking to one earlier this week when I was at the grocery store, and he said his business was actually down dramatically. And I said, why are you still out here? And he said, well, there's not as many drivers out here right now either. So, there's that side of the business too, right? So, but the risk is you don't know who's getting in your car, where they've been, how they've been, and what they're doing. So, So, has Uber done anything to help their drivers, Bob, beyond the standard emails I've seen about if you can cover your face getting into a car, do so, and wash your hands?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. They do send out an email saying they have sanitary wipes and they have hand sanitizer, but it's in limited supply, and it'll only be given out to the drivers as they see the most need. I don't know any Uber drivers that have received any of that. I don't even know, to me, the most need would be the guys that are delivering Uber Eats on bicycles, and they don't even get it. So I think that's just words that they send out. I don't know of anybody that's received anything from Uber other than words, which is what they're best at.
Yeah, I don't think they're doing a really good job. The Uber I got into on Monday, the driver actually said to me, handed me his bottle of sanitizer, but frankly, I don't want to touch that either. So sorry.
Right.
And I always carry a portable bottle with me. I carry one in my pocket. I have since my days in healthcare for years. So So I just kind of carry that, and that's a piece of good news. So I used that and said, don't worry about it. I've already washed my hands. I know when I was in the grocery store, I was in Metro Nowhere to Hawaii, I washed my hands 6 times with that bottle while I was in the store in the 30 minutes I was in there. Wow. So I'm a little paranoid, but you can appreciate where I'm coming from, can't you?
Sure, yeah.
So Uber hasn't done much in that department. I'm surprised there hasn't been more Uber drivers upset at them publicly. Like I really am right now, actually.
Well, I think the reason for that is that Uber drivers don't expect a lot from Uber. They've learned if they've been driving with them for any amount of time, they know that the customer support is pretty much zero. The only way you can get any decent customer support is if you go to the green hubs, and the people at the green hubs, when you're face to face, they've actually been very good. But of course, they closed within days of the coronavirus thing happening. Yes. They closed before anybody was even told to close. So as soon as that happened, I think all the drivers knew you're kind of on your own. Like,
Yeah. Well, when you were dropping off, still doing Uber Eats, were you basically doing what I call a knock and run, where you'd put the food at the door and just knock the door and then disappear kind of thing? Or
pretty much, I'd say about 80% of people wanted that. You get a few people that they wanted to hand it to you, and a few people that would say, we'll buzz you in, and we're on the 11th floor at the end, and I'd just politely say, sorry, but these days I can only bring it as far as the lobby, so please meet me there.
yeah,
And they've done that without question. The customers have been really good. So, and the odd ones, they want to meet you, and there's always a reason why it's probably best that they did. Whether it's there's multiple tenants living within the same facility, and their food's going to go astray, or it's just not safe to leave it, and and it's been a very quick handoff. So.
yeah.
But
Being in a small building, what we've done with any deliveries, I don't care if it's food, if it's Uber Eats, if it's Skip the Dishes, if it's Amazon, I've actually buzzed people in and said, just leave it right inside the door, because I can be down 2 floors in about 10 seconds. So no disrespecting drivers, but I'd rather not be in contact with anybody I don't have to be right now, if you
sure.
can understand. And I think that's just about being careful. Let's talk about government funding. We know in Canada we have the CRB benefit, which is, for those who don't know, outside of Canada, it's the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit. They'll give you up to $2,000 a month to help you, but it's taxable. When you stopped doing Uber, did you qualify for that funding, or did you not?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah. I just stopped, I guess it was about a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
So, and I wasn't going to stop unless I could get the funding. So I went online to see how hard it was going to be and whatnot. And I think I was online for maybe 2 minutes. It was so easy to apply.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't qualify, they're going to come. They're going to want it back.
Yeah.
But but if people are legitimately trying to stay home, and for me, it wasn't so much me as the people I was living with at the time, or that I'm living with now, that they were concerned, and so you have to balance that. If I lived on my own and I was,
no question. As you know, I've got a wife. My wife Jill has no immune system, so she went out to the store yesterday, and it was the first time she had been out except with the dogs in like a week and a half.
sure.
And it got to the point where we needed stuff, and she was just stir crazy. So she's like, "I'll go," but she went early. She didn't wait till later in the day. She made the decision to go. So right when seniors' hours were over, she was in the store. She said it was quiet. It
Yeah.
was, and she in essence took an Uber home, so that wasn't bad. The bottom line, though, is I think you got to think of the people you're around. And I know when I'm out and about, I think of her, and I'd rather do most of the running around knowing what her immune system is like. So she's
Sure.
one of those where she gets sick at 3 weeks. So you don't need, with the virus going around, you got to think of those people you live with, I think. So.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to switch gears for a minute. Did you see that Airbnb has applied? And I know you and your partner run an Airbnb. The parent company has applied for $1 billion interest-free loan in all this.
No, I didn't see that. No.
Now, it was reported on TechCrunch that Airbnb received $1 billion interest-free loan to help them with their operations, because, of course, you and I both being in different spots as a travel agent, the travel industry, we understand it's taken a big hit, and I think it's going to be, I hate this.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because I read an article maybe a week ago where Airbnb had attracted, I forget how many billions of dollars of investment to do some virtual vacationing system that they were trying to.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that they would raise a few $1 billion in one hand and then apply for government assistance on the other.
But they qualify because the revenue is dropped by whatever percentage
for
in
sure.
the states. And what I would tell any business owner is, and I've done the same thing, to be honest, is if you qualify for government grants, take them. It's free money. You'll have to pay it back, but it's free money in your pocket now that you won't have to deal with
Sure.
for 2 years. So just make sure you have a plan to pay that back. But why would you turn down
Yeah.
free money in your pocket now? Because the way I look at it is you've paid into all these systems all your years, so why shouldn't you get something out of it, kind of thing. So I would.
Yeah, and if there's no problem paying it back, I think the problem is with like the really small businesses, where they're just getting by before this all happened, and now they're looking at, if they want to continue to get by, they got to take this loan, interest free though it is, but they're going to have to pay that back.
Yeah,
And
not all of it.
they
Some
were
of it.
just they were just getting by before, so they don't want more debt load, but
Yeah.
it's hard.
What I would be telling small businesses too is, if you're applying for some of these loans, if it were me and I was at home, and you and I have talked offline about this, I've talked to clients about this, I've talked to a multitude of people about this, is you need to figure out how you're going to pivot your business at this point, because the reality of it all is nothing is going to go back to the way it was. I think
No, for sure.
we're going to see small shopping malls bankrupt. We're going to see more and more people ordering from Amazon, unless you live in France, by the way, because you've seen that schmoz. Amazon lost a court case and just said, "Oh, we'll just close up in France for now, we're done." So that's happened. But I think you're going to see more and more people working from home. You're going to see more and more people using online services. We've even jumped in and tried a service called HelloFresh. I don't know if you're familiar with them or not. They're a food delivery service that delivers pre-made meals, and all you have to do is cook them. So we've been lucky. We had a friend give us a coupon from their account, so we saved $50 off their first order. And we've had multitude of people buy off my wife's referral link. So every time somebody buys, we save $50. So, nice. I usually don't do affiliate marketing, but in this case, it's worked out really well, because we've had a couple of people say, "Can you give us a coupon for $50 off?" And we will. We're not pushy about it by any means. But the advantage of that is that they buy, we get $50 in our account. So I think the last I looked, we ordered 3 meals, and with our discount, it cost us $25 to try the service. That's not bad.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty good.
And I think those services are here to stay. I think you and I go back to Uber Eats for a minute. We've got all these what I call ghost restaurants, and basically that means you go in, you pick up, you take out, and there's nobody sitting in a restaurant. I think that's going to continue even worse after the pandemic's over.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that's probably the thinking of these, like this Fresh, the company that you're talking about, and that's probably why they're basically paying $100 to buy a customer.
Yeah,
and they're thinking long term, right? So
yeah,
and that's what I'm hoping that some of these small, like, independent little restaurants that are closed up, and they're taking these loans, and maybe they were struggling to get 20 customers in an evening before, and if they're thinking, okay, after this is over, we can do a big push and try to get 20, 30 in a night, we can pay back this loan. I think they're going to be dreaming, because if they're not going to take the chains off at the end of this, and business isn't going to go right back to where it was. It's going to be a long haul.
Yeah.
They're not going to see the numbers they saw when we closed for a long, long time. And I know a few restaurants around here that have just closed. They just closed, and I don't know. It's going to be an interesting thing, but I think there's going to be a lot more online stuff. I think the delivery business is going to be it's going to go through the roof.
Now, what I'll also tell you is I've got a couple clients on the go who don't want to pay the Uber Eats fees, and they are right now. And what they're doing is they're pivoting and having their own online ordering system built. And in my agency, I've got a couple of my developers building systems on WordPress to do delivery right now because of
Is that
this.
right? Eh?
Because they
Yeah.
think in the long term, it would be cheaper for them to hire a driver and do local than to go through the whole Uber Eats schmoz because their overhead, because there is that cost of the overhead to the business as well. So that's
Sure.
an
Yeah.
interesting thought too. And I think it's gonna even change, like even in things like pet stores we're talking about, they're curbside now. I think you might see some of that continue.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see. I don't know if anybody knows, but and I can release it now because it's been in the news. The beer store where we buy beer in Ontario was actually hit by ransomware, and our POS system was down by 5 days. Now, I knew that because I spoke to the manager of my local beer store, and he told me what was going on. But I mean, they were out of commission in a day where nobody wants to take cash for 5 days. Can you believe that?
Yeah. That was a long haul.
And they got hit, and this wasn't one store, this was the entire system. So we're seeing more cyber attacks. I can tell you, being in a WordPress security game, my websites and my clients are seeing an increase of 3,000 attacks a day, 3,000% in the attacks a day that are going on, because not only we at home, the script kiddies are all at home who have nothing better to do, so they're out there causing havoc. I think, for me, and you and I have talked about this, my wife and I are Amazon all in.
Right.
I think some streaming services are going to continue to catch on. I think cable's going to go by the wayside. We've got so the way Amazon Prime works is streaming is you can buy streaming and then they have add-on channels. We took 2 add-on channels free for 30 days and we've continued with one. So it's like $4 extra a month. It's an MGM channel, but Jill's watching everything she can watch right now. When we get done, we'll cancel it. I mean, there's going to be a lot more of that. You and I are both sports fans, and we're crying right now because usually we're into NHL playoffs right about now, and that's not happening.
Yeah. Well, I think the NHL should do the only reasonable thing and award the Stanley Cup this year to whoever it was that's in first place when it's all,
I actually don't agree with that. I think we have to go back to the 1900 pandemic, which was Montreal and Seattle back in the days when it was a Challenge Cup and there was a full influenza break and they chose not to award the cup. So I would award all the other awards, but I would not award the cup.
No, I think, given that, let me see, I think it was Boston that was in first place. So
is that why you're pushing for that?
Might be.
And that, by the way, another year the Maple Leaf fans will be looking at the cup at the Hockey Hall of Fame. Thank you very much. I'm a Canadian fan, and we haven't won since '93, but I'm realistic. So
Is that right? Eh? It's been that long.
'93. It was that was the year that Montreal won 15 out of 16 games in overtime. If you can believe that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, just what year was it again that you said the influenza caused the?
It was early 1900s. I was going to say, was it 1917 or something like that?
Is that right? Eh?
Yeah, it was Montreal and a team from Seattle, and it broke out in Seattle, Washington. And in those days, the Stanley Cup was not the property of the NHL. So
right, yeah.
And then influenza broke out, and the trustees of the cup, now the trustees are NHL employees, chose not to award a cup because it impacted both teams. So it was really interesting. You do know in the state of Florida, professional sports is an essential service. Eh?
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, I know they. Who was it? The wrestling was in. They got awarded that in California.
Florida.
Was it Florida?
Yeah, the WWE has been doing all their tapings from their
Yeah, I
performance center.
saw it on the news, and I thought it just looked really weird. No fans in the like.
Yeah.
It
And
looks
the rumor is Dana White of the UFC is going to move his UFC production into the WWE Performance Center as well. So I just
oh yeah,
wonder how much Vince McMahon paid the governor of Florida for that privilege. Because yeah,
yeah, yeah.
so
It's very strange. I don't know. It's
the
kind of
world
weird.
the world is strange, is it not? Right now, I mean,
Sure is. Yeah.
it's kind of eerie. You go
But
out.
I did hear that guy was being interviewed on this virtual technology
Okay.
where you can watch a hockey game or any sports game, and
Yeah.
you can be at home with your headset on, and
Yeah.
you'll virtually be in the stadium.
Yeah.
So, and I thought that's interesting because now there's no maximum number of seats you can sell.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's going to be an interesting way to for going forward.
So what I'll tell you is we watched a movie. We watched Angel Has Fallen last night, which is the sequel to London Has Fallen, out of that
Right.
trilogy, and it's on Amazon Prime. And I enjoyed watching the movie, and I'm usually a go out to the movie person more than I would have in the movies. And I've got a 43-inch TV in my living room, and I've got a good sound bar, and I've got popcorn that costs 50 cents to make instead of $5.
Yeah.
And I don't have to listen to stupid kiddies behind me. And I don't think the movie industry is ever going to pivot out of this. I mean, Gusos, who's on Dragon's Den, who runs the biggest chain in Montreal, has opened an online store for rentals in Quebec where you can rent movies. I mean, it's just, I think the movie industry is going to be a big casualty coming out of this, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think you're right. Especially with these days, the TV screens are getting bigger and bigger, and streaming is becoming more of the norm. And I mean, even now, when I was doing the Uber Eats, I would get calls every once in a while to the famous players near us, and they would sell a movie package, and it
Yeah.
was a code to watch a movie digitally on your TV, and it came with a couple of popcorns and drinks, and it was like this is interesting, and that was before the virus and stuff happened. So in a way they were, it was kind of like they were setting up for the day when people weren't going to want to venture out to the theater.
Yeah,
And it's good.
one of the things they've done is if you go watch a movie, so let's take the last Star Wars, which I did not see and was going to go see when all this pandemic broke.
Right.
They if you watch the movie in theater, they'll let you upgrade your ticket to be able to watch it online after again. So they've been offering that for years. And then the other thing that they've done
Is that immediately watching it, or when it's finished in the theaters?
No, immediate. You get immediate access to it. Yeah.
Oh,
And the
that's
other
pretty cool.
thing they did was they released Star Wars to rent for homes. You could watch, I think, 3 times or something. And it was only like $25. So for 2 of us, guess what? It's worth it to rent it and watch it at home and pay my own refreshments. Thank you.
Yeah.
And anybody going to movies knows the cheapest place to buy movie passes is at Costco, right? Because they're discounted, and it's still cheaper to watch it at home. So I think things like that. You touched on the virtual reality for sports. I think that's a good way to get fans involved who can't afford the price of the tickets. I mean, to go see a hockey or a basketball game in Toronto in the lower bowl is $200 a ticket. Like, good luck. How does a family of 4 afford that? You know what I mean? Like, so I think the shift we're seeing in the economy is good. I have a bit of a theory. I think it's going to take manufacturing, technology, and small business to bring us out of this. Do you have any thoughts on that? Or
No, I think you're right. I think I don't think it's going to be in the hands of big business. I think it's going to be the little guys helping out the individual homeowners that just don't want to go out. And I mean, there's gonna be some big business involved in the way that, you know, a little guy might put his shop onto Amazon. So you're going to need the Amazons of the world. But other than that, you're going to have some company like me. You know, I make T-shirts in my basement and I send it to somebody ordering one in their basement. You know, it's and I like that. I think that's good. You know, and
I do too. I mean,
yeah,
I've taken a business that I've done and scaled it to 7 figures working from a home office. I mean,
yeah,
I'm quite happy. So I'm not, it's funny. I'm not in the bad headspace that everybody else is in right now, just because I'm used to it. But I am
sure,
because you and I are both social creatures. We like to get out. We like to see people. We like
yeah.
to talk to people. Um, what do you think about in Ontario since the Bob Ray days? We've had a cut on mental health. Do you in the system costs and support? Don't you think that's going to change in all this?
I'm hoping it does. I mean, of all the things that I find the most annoying in all of this is like they look at the long-term care homes and the government stepping up and saying we have to address this, and healthcare saying we have to address this, and everybody's jumping the bandwagon and saying this is an awful situation. And I'm thinking, this isn't new.
No.
This is maybe the virus is highlighting it for sure, but this has been going on for probably decades.
Yeah.
This is a situation that should have been addressed, and hopefully that'll be a good thing that comes out of the coronavirus, is that they'll finally put some decent money into the long-term care. And like I was saying to my partner Shelley the other day, that when the government announced that they're going to go, I think Justin Trudeau was announcing he's going to go to the premiers and ask them to increase hourly wages for these workers. And I said, and what was a good? And I thought, what's a good wage? Well, how much? So you're saying you go into this home and you risk your life now because of this coronavirus. And what is that? Was that worth $2 an hour for you? Is
Yeah.
it worth $5? Like, what's it worth? I mean, they should get paid more, but I'm like thinking, well, what's it worth though?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're a mother with 3 kids of your own that are still young, and you're risking your life and you can't go home to them. And they're saying, we'll give you an extra $2 an hour to do that. It's like, I don't think that's worth it.
Yeah.
But thank God there are people like that will still go into these jobs, because I don't know what they, and we know there's been homes where the workers have walked out, and you can't really blame them.
Yeah.
You don't know what they're like. Sure, there's people that risk in their homes and they need them to show up to work, but at the same time, if you've got your own family to consider, and you're thinking, I'm getting paid like, $17 or $18 an hour, and I'm risking my life and I'm risking the lives of my family, and I can't be with them, and that's a lot to ask somebody.
Yeah.
And I think the long-term care situation in Ontario, well, in Canada, needs to be addressed big time. And
I don't disagree. Part of the problem is they have no spare rooms for if somebody gets ill. I know when I worked up at Sunnybrook has a big long-term care wing and a veterans wing, and they've had one case in the veterans wing at Sunnybrook. I do know every Christmas we get a gastro outbreak or a flu outbreak because there's more people coming in. So I think one of the things long-term care homes and hospitals have to do, and I said this after SARS because I worked at Sunnybrook and Women's College in Toronto during SARS, is we need to screen people every day when they come into a hospital. And hospitals stop doing this because there's a cost of money. Well, guess what? We can't stop doing this.
Yeah.
We need rooms that have outside airflow and are pressurized, even in long-term care homes. And we need to stop allowing long-term care homes not to have spare rooms. They have to have spare rooms so if somebody's sick, we can move them and isolate them. I mean, that's what caused the one in Etobicoke, who's, I think it's now at 34 or 35. It's the worst one in the province. Bob Cajun is up at 29. Jill has a family friend whose dad is alive in Bob Cajun right now, so we're concerned about that. There's the one in Quebec that has 33. and that one has negligence written on it to the point the QPP, Quebec Provincial Police, are involved. I mean, it's a mess. But also the mental health side is people are hurting right now. And one of the resources I would mention is, if you're in Canada or outside of Canada, Shoppers Drug Mart has made all their mental health resources on their website available for free that they normally charge for. So you might want to check those out and just go look at them. There's some good stuff. Call a crisis line. You got kids, let them call Kids Health Phone. I mean, kids are hurting right now. Our Prime Minister has addressed the kids of the nation multiple times and even had online chats with them. So, and he has 2 kids himself, so he's pretty understanding. But we need to take care of these people. And
no, I think it's good. And you know, like the situation where they've had to pass a law where if you're a long-term care home worker, you can't work in more than one home. You can't work part-time here and then go to another one part-time there, and because they don't want the virus spreading that way, of course. Yep. But I thought, why is that an issue? Like, why is it that the person can't make a decent enough income working in one home that they have to work in 2? Because just because this virus is come along doesn't mean that shouldn't always have been an issue. Yep. I mean, there's always illness in one home, not in another, and you've got a worker going from one to another. Like, that's always an issue. So why isn't you can't pay this person enough to say, you know what, just work at this home. You know, you're working in this home. You know, I don't. There's just it's just because there's underfunding. It's underfunded.
Yeah. Well, it's underfunded. It's privatized, so they're trying to maximize profit. And the other problem is what they're doing with these PSWs is they're keeping them just under the 30-hour threshold. So by union contract, they don't have to pay them benefits. So they're basically saying because you work in more than one home, the company doesn't have to pay benefits, even though your benefits add up to your hours add up to 50 or 60 hours, and that's the game being paid because we all know benefits count for are usually another third of somebody's salary. So it's sad. Do you have any other suggestions for anybody out there who's kind of going stir crazy or anything else right now?
I don't know. It's I mean, we're fortunate. We're at my partner's place. Shelley's place is up in just north of Oshawa. We're back onto a bit of a forest and a creek, and so it's nice we can get out and I go for 4 or 5 kilometer walks every day around the country roads. So, and I never see a soul. So, I'm lucky that way. But for somebody that's, I know there are people that are stuck in in the downtown area where, you just can't go out without running into a whole bunch of people.
I'm so glad I'm not downtown.
Yeah. So it's good. I mean, but you do what you can do. You spend some time on the phone and call your friends that maybe you've only done email and texting with for the last year or 2 years, and you actually give them a call on the phone and hear their voice. It's a nice change. So
it sure is. And do Bob and I a favor: if you have to go out and you decide to take a mask with your gloves with you, please put them in the garbage. Don't throw them on the road. Now, what I'll tell you in Toronto is, after Mayor Tory went ballistic last weekend, it is better. So, I found it better, and people are.
Yeah. It's pretty sad that you've got that, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad that there's people out there that think that's an okay thing to do. Like, I don't know. I mean, they're at the point where they're concerned about the germs, and then you throw it on the ground. Like, well, I don't understand the logic there, but it's just laziness, I think. So
I agree with you. Hey Bob, thanks for joining me. I hope everybody has a good day, and really appreciate the insights into Uber and just chatting about this virus. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Sounds good, Rob. Thanks a lot. God bless.
Bye-bye.
A special thanks to my special guest, Bob Rodkin. It's always a pleasure to sit down with Bob, as I've known him a long time. He always has insights to share. I thought his insight of being an Uber and an Uber Eats driver would share a different perspective with everybody. I sure hope you found this as enjoyable as I did. As always, if I can help you with your digital marketing, your business needs, please go on over to stunningdigitalmarketing.com. Scroll down halfway on the main page under the COVID-19 message and sign up for your free 30-minute strategy call. I don't want anything from you. I just want to help you out. So let's sit and chat. I'll even give you a recording of that call after so you can review the actionable items that we talk about during the call. So let's get your business up and running and let's make you succeed. If you need anything else, you can either go to my website contact form or email me at vip@stunningdigitalmarketing.com. As always, this podcast is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns, and also dedicated to Jill's stepbrother, Stephen McLean, as he's in ICU in Montreal, and all the frontline workers supporting us during the COVID-19 crisis. Please keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars, and make your business succeed.